Greetings, fellow adventurers, to the almost world-famous Cactus Atlas. On today's adventure, I'm exploring the north rim of the Grand Canyon and taking a tour of the major scenic overlooks this park has to offer. I've not seen most of these myself, so this is an adventure and discovery. If you want to find out what these overlooks are like and learn a thing or two along the way, join me. Let's go check it out. So let me just give you a quick rundown of the tour we're undertaking here. Our journey, as with many people, started in this vicinity. You've got your visitor center, the entrance to the park's over this way. So you take this Cape Royal Road, and it is an out and back road, by the way, so we're gonna have to go back the way we came eventually. And we drive and we drive and we drive. And the first stop on the tour is gonna be a place called Point Imperial, which you take this road all the way up here, then you gotta go back the way you came, and then we can continue our journey up the road to these various points. I think today I'm gonna be stopping at Roosevelt Point, and then Walhalla Overlook, and finally Angel's Window and Cape Royal would be the last stops on the tour. Okay, so the first stop on this tour is Point Imperial, and already I could see why this particular outlook, or overlook rather, is a popular spot. So this sign is pretty helpful. Points out some landmarks in the background, such as the Vermilion Cliffs, which if you look way, way out there, it's kind of hazy today, but you could see them. And that sign mentioned that that is the closest place where dinosaur fossils have been found. And no fossils have been found at the Grand Canyon yet. You know, it's interesting because I can actually see the route that I drove to get here from southern Arizona. Pretty much had to go north along the desert this way until I got to the Vermilion Cliffs, and then I cut over this way all the way around into the park. And I'm not trying to trivialize that because that was a long drive, almost 6 hours from Phoenix. All right, let's go take a look here at the actual overlook. So yeah, this is pretty amazing. This is Point Imperial. You get views of out east, out towards the Vermilion Cliffs. You can even see Flagstaff and the South Rim. And look how high up we are from this point. We're over 8,000 feet high, and you can see down below that, on top of that plateau down there. It's quite amazing. Yeah, this far exceeds my expectations. I could see why this is such a popular spot. You can see there are a few stairs that you have to traverse to get down here, but nothing too bad. And this trail is paved, a little rocky. I imagine that this stop is pretty popular because it's relatively close to the visitor center compared to the other points. You don't have to drive quite as far. Maybe that's why there's more people here than some of the other points I visited. All right, well, time to continue the tour on to the next point. So that was Point Imperial. I would say the best thing about it, in my opinion, is the fact that it's the highest point in the park, and you command a view of everything around you from up above, and you can see so far into the distance, very familiar landmarks like the Vermilion Cliffs, like all this canyon stuff there behind me. It's absolutely beautiful. It's breathtaking, and I imagine this place would be good for sunrises because you are facing east. Oh, and I forgot to point this out when I was out on foot. Point Imperial does have restroom facilities and picnic tables too. So exploring the north rim of the Grand Canyon requires a vehicle, most likely your vehicle. They don't really have shuttle services like they do at other, like the South Rim of the Grand Canyon, for example, and things are very spread out here. For example, one of the most popular viewpoints and the end of the road, quite literally, on Cape Royal Road is Cape Royal. And that takes 45 minutes one way to get to from around the visitor center portion of the park, where you're almost certainly going to be coming from. So you could see 45 minutes one way, you got to go back the way you came. That's close to 2 hours you're going to be spending getting to and fro from that point. And along the way there are other stops, and we're going to be hitting them all today. But the main point that I wanted to make to you is, if you come to the North Rim, don't expect it to be quite the same experience that you get at the South Rim. Be prepared to be spending some time in your vehicle. Okay, so the tour continues. We have seen Point Imperial, and I made my way here. I skipped over Vista Encantada. It's a little picnic area. It looks pretty quaint though, you can see it from the road. But I'm hitting Roosevelt Point now at 8,470 feet. All right, I've just arrived at Roosevelt Point, and boy, do you need to be careful. I came down this road here, around this corner really quickly, and then I saw like this parking lot here, and I was able to turn around, but there's really no clear signage that tells you this is Roosevelt Point. So as you get out of your car, you'll be welcomed by spectacular views. Once again, we're facing that easterly direction that you got at Point Imperial, and you can see out on that plain, out on that desert out there, and this is quite a view. And there's a little plaque here commemorating Roosevelt Point. It was named after Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th President of the United States, for his efforts towards the preservation of the Grand Canyon. There's the little sign pointing to Roosevelt Trail, and if I look for it here, looks like it's right over here. I read the little map pamphlet they give you when you come into the park, and it said this is a 0.2 mile long trail, so it's not long. They said maybe plan on spending 20 minutes on it, so I'm gonna do that, because getting over here right away I can see a lot less obstruction. I mean, you still have these weeds or plants right in front of me, but oh boy, look down there. That's cool. Okay, this gets thick. I don't know about this. As long as there's no thorny things. Oh, I spoke too soon. Those are thorny things. All I know is there better be a darn good view for doing this, guys. Okay, so that's where I came from. I navigated it, and that probably will serve as a deterrent. I'm sure of it. For most people, I doubt that many people are gonna navigate that. Once again, be careful if you decide to try this one, just because of mainly the thorny things, but it's hard to see where you're walking. Okay, so to be honest with you, this is still really cool, and I love it, but I don't really see the point in traversing that mess of stuff that I did, because you have a more obstructed view actually from coming down further, ironically enough. All of this brush and all of these bushes in front of me are obstructing it. The very beginning of the trail, the first few feet were probably the best. So I would say the best out of the whole Roosevelt Point. So get out of your car, go to the trail, walk a few feet into it, wait, and when you get that initial view where there's not too much obstruction, that's as far as you need to go. Okay, so I came out relatively unscathed. Note where that overgrown part is I just came through, and turn around. See where there's only like the wheat looking plants? Like those don't obstruct so much. And that is your money shot at Roosevelt Point. And you could see, I mean, right around that corner is the parking lot. So when I said you really just have to come a few feet into this, that's all you need to do right here. Okay, so the tour continues. But the one thing I will say about Roosevelt Point is if you're in a hurry and you're short on time, you could probably skip this one. But if you do stop, you definitely need to walk this trail to this point that I told you about, to really get the best view. Otherwise, you're going to be looking up over bushes at the main part where you park your car. Okay, so we're making some good progress. This next one on our tour is Walhalla Overlook, right there. That's where we're at. We were previously at Roosevelt Point way up here. So let's go see what this one's all about. So this Overlook parking lot is much more ample than Roosevelt's was, as you can see. A lot more parking space here. Everybody parked way down there, and maybe there is an overlook over there, but I see an overlook right here. Boom. Can you see that? Maybe not. I'm gonna get out there before anybody else shows up, and somebody is, so I can have the whole place to myself. Okay, so if you're in the parking lot, to get to the overlook that I'm showing you now, like you could see I'm driving in this direction. The trail is at the far end of this parking lot, this way. And it is paved. It does have a lot of cracks in it. So the accessibility may be a bit questionable, but doable. Okay, so this spot is awesome. Yeah, I mean, how is any of this not awesome, I guess, but yeah, you really can see way down in there. This is a really steep, you know, sometimes you say it's steep. I really think beyond that rock, it's straight down. Probably for hundreds of feet, maybe 1,000 feet, I don't know. But yeah, you could really see out there this rock structure in front of me. It's casting a lot of nice sharp shadows right now, a lot of nice contrast. And you can see off in the distance over there, similar to some of the other points we just visited, Point Imperial and Roosevelt Point, you can still see out on that plain, although we're now starting to wrap around, and now we're facing more of the south rim of the canyon, which is out there. And of course, Flagstaff. You get a really good view, maybe the best view I've seen yet, straight on of the San Francisco peaks out there. Oh look, I just noticed it too. You could see the Colorado River. Straight up right there, you see that? You can see some whitewater rapids. That might be my first view of the Colorado River from up here on the North Rim. Now it's possible that I just overlooked it before, because if you're not looking for it, it could easily blend into the scenery. But yeah, Walhalla Point, awesome view of the Colorado River. One of the best that I've seen yet from up on the rim, between here and the South Rim. Now, this is facing straight on out to the South Rim. I imagine the sunrise might be pretty good here. I mean, there are some rocks coming out that might block some of the light. I'm not quite sure. And then facing west, I also am sketchy on if a sunset would be good. I imagine not great. I imagine some of that soft light and the colors you get after the sun goes down below the horizon would probably be pretty neat from over here. But actually seeing the sun set below the horizon, it's gonna set behind the scenery right in front of me and not off in the distance like you're supposed to be able to see at Cape Royal and those spots out there. Wow, you can see, it looks like a dry creek bed or wash, or many of them. You could just see them like capillaries coming off the mountains. I wonder, after a downpour, a monsoon storm, that could probably become a raging river. It'd be kind of neat to hike that, I'd imagine, if you could get down there somehow and just walk the length of that wash, when it's dry, of course. Another good view from the parking lot. And you can see we were just out hanging out there where those folks are. I'm gonna go up here though and check and make sure that I'm not missing any other overlooks or anything like that, because maybe I'm the fool. Although, like right back there, where everybody's congregated, there is a really good view that's almost as good as the overlook. The overlook, of course, is better. But if you stop there, at the very least, you'll get a good view of the same thing. But that overlook, oh, it's so good. So make sure you know it's there, because you could see how you would not ever know that down there at the end of the parking lot is a paved trail that juts off that way. You tell me, how would you know that? And that somewhat terrifying spot out there is what I believe is known as Angel's Window. It's part of the end of the line where Cape Royal is. I believe the trail will fork and you can either go over there or to Cape Royal. That looks fantastic. But that's where we're heading next. Now, one thing you can see, this must be a very popular spot because this parking lot is enormous compared to the other ones. And as with many of the trails, this is paved. Looks like it's very well maintained, very accessible. And I kind of see the clearing up ahead, so I think I'm pretty close, so you don't have to walk too far. I think I'm gonna head to the main attraction first because I don't see too many people out there, and there are a lot of people back here, so I can hit this spot up on the way back. But first, would you look at that? It's like an arch. You can see right through it, right through to the canyon. That is pretty spectacular. All right, we're coming to the fork in the road here, and I was correct. That arch-like area is Angel's Window, and then the other point is indeed Cape Royal Point. So we're gonna be walking this way towards Angel's Window first. I'm excited about this. So to get out there on that ledge, you have to walk down this way. And I'm here, I'm out on it right now. So you can see, and right there is straight down. And I'm wondering, somewhere beneath my feet at some point along the way, perhaps where I'm standing right now, is that arch. So it's a little unnerving to think that at some point below the rock I'm standing on, what if it just all collapsed and gave way? Ooh, I'm ready to get out of here already. And here's the furthest out you can walk. Oh man. Oh yeah, and you can see straight down. Does that come out on video? I don't know. But the back of my neck is tingling right now. All right, I have to white knuckle grab this thing here, and turning my back towards that abyss next to me is making me really nervous, but yeah, you really have to make it out to this point if you come here. I think this might be one of my favorites for sure. Definitely if you have a fear of heights or problems with vertigo, you may want to proceed with caution. And as with a lot of the other points, from here you really get an awesome view of the South Rim and Flagstaff and the San Francisco peaks. And then you can face east to see out on that plateau we've been looking at, making me wonder if sunsets would be good from this point. I imagine they probably would be. Okay, so that was amazing and slightly terrifying at the same time. I really hope the video conveys the sense of depth and just how much of an abyss it really is. It is crazy. Oh, and I also failed to mention, I meant to say this earlier, kind of heading out of this area, but you can see the Colorado River very clearly, similar to the view you get from Walhalla Point, although from this vantage point you can actually see more of the river going off that direction. Okay, so now we're going to come to the end of the trail. We are going to hang a left to go to Cape Royal Point. I would have expected a lot more people here, and it's still very quiet. I wonder when I get out to the Cape Royal Point lookout, will that still remain true? I don't know. And I've arrived at Cape Royal Point. Looks like we have a couple choices here. I'm gonna guess that's the prime spot down that way. There's also a trail here that looks off to the east, and of course this little lookout here that looks off to the west. And boy, is it spectacular. I would say this is probably the best western view. I said best western, so not the hotel. The best westerly facing view here at the North Rim Grand Canyon that I've encountered anyway on my journey, so easily. And here it is, Cape Royal Point. Now I could see why this is popular, because you get views here facing east, you get views facing straight across, and you get views facing west. You get it all over here. And I have the place almost to myself. And wow, that is amazing. And you could see that other trail that I mentioned earlier, that other paved trail walks out over there where those folks are hanging out on that ledge. I think we'll go check that out next. Okay, so that was the main part of the Cape Royal Point. Not quite as vertiginous as some other spots we've seen, but definitely no less spectacular. I would say standing here as opposed to over on the main paved viewpoint gives me a much better easterly facing view. Probably for sunrises, I imagine this would be a better choice than being out there, because as you can see, they're not really facing as east as I think I am here. And I can of course see out on that plateau from up above. This is a really nice view. Well, that was highly satisfying. That was excellent. But alas, I need to start making my way back to the car because I have a long drive back. Now I saw something and wanted to come explore, and I don't know how many people know about this, but back towards the back of the parking lot I saw a trail, and it's leading off this way to some picnic tables and what looks to be some awesome views over here. Wow, it just never gets old. All right, well, I did it. I did a pretty extensive tour of all of the main viewpoints here at the North Rim Grand Canyon. So I figure I'll give you a few final thoughts. All right, I think this little hidden gem back here that I found is the perfect place to tell you my final thoughts about today's adventure. So if you ever visit the North Rim of the Grand Canyon, chances are one of the things you're going to want to focus on is going to see all of the best views of the Grand Canyon. So that's kind of what we did today, is we circumvented the park and checked them all out. My personal favorites, really Cape Point in general, if you call that one thing, that probably is the best one. It consists of 2 points, of course, Angel's Window and then Cape Royal Point, I think is what it's actually officially called. They're both fantastic. All of them have their strengths. I think that right out there, Cape Royal Point might be your best place in all of the park to see sunsets. A lot of the other ones have really good easterly facing views, probably great for sunrises, but all of them are fantastic. Another one that ranks high up on my list is Point Imperial, which is the first one we visited, which also happens to be towards the front of the park. So if you're short on time and you can't hit everything, Point Imperial was awesome. That one came close to being my favorite. In fact, it's really hard to even compare them, to be honest, but if I had to, that's probably how I'd rank them. Walhalla was a really awesome quick stop that I would recommend, and Roosevelt is meh. You could do without that one if you're in a hurry, but it's still pretty cool. And of course, in terms of planning, make sure you allow enough time. This whole journey was my afternoon, so I would just say you can get this done probably in maybe 3 hours, but if you want to take your time and enjoy it, maybe more, let's just call it a half day if you really want to go around and spend ample time at each spot and get some really good photos. Maybe have a picnic lunch along the way. So keep that in mind, and keep in mind too that when you drive all the way out to this Cape Royal Point, you got to drive all the way back, 45 minutes, which I'm about to do, but it's well worth it. If you're new here, please subscribe to our channel, and if you like this video, give it a big thumbs up. Also, hit that notification bell to stay on top of whenever we release new videos, which we're doing all of the time. And of course, you can find us on social media at Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram under the name Cactus Atlas. Well, that's gonna do it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it. It was awesome for me. And we'll see you on a new adventure right around the corner. Take it easy. That is a fantastic view. Wow! That's one of the best ones of the day.